a lot of bookers.
Well, I was about to say who was booking, who was calling the shots, and why did that relationship not last longer than it did? Because Houston was still doing business. And the one thing you see that was kind of constant is no matter who Paul was aligned with, who the booker was, whether business was up or down in their specific territories, Houston was consistent.
Yeah, for the most part, until really San Antonio is where we starting to dip a little bit, because the deal was predicated on Wahoo being the booker,
right,
and the talent that Wahoo was going to bring in. Wahoo had ties to North Carolina. Wahoo was a well-respected name, well-respected booker.
Yeah,
had great ideas, and people liked Wahoo.
Plus, he stood up for the guys. He was a stand-up guy.
Yes.
And if he asked some of the boys to do something, he had a lot of pull.
Exactly. He was a man's man, and if he asked you to do something, you know, pretty much you're going to do it or else.
He got Ric Flair into the Carolinas. Yeah. Pretty much when he worked for Vern, he went back down to the Carolinas and said, hey, there's this kid, you need to use him. And they, okay.
So the deal with San Antonio was, you get San Antonio, you get Tully. And Tully came in, and I guess at the time, Tully was making things very difficult for Wahoo. Not just in Houston, but in the whole San Antonio territory.
Tully being difficult?
I know, it's hard to believe.
All right.
So the friction between Wahoo and Tully just became too much to where Wahoo said, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm going to Charlotte. I'm out of here. Where he went to Tampa. And so now we're without a booker. So you're without a booker, what do? You put the kid in charge.
Oh,
so now Tully's the booker. So then they bring in Dick Slater. So Slater's going to come in. Slater's going to be the booker. Slater comes in. He's the booker maybe 2 weeks. They have that bad auto accident in the van where Dickie goes in the hospital. They about kill Terry Funk, about kill Dick Slater, several other people. But now Dickie's out of the picture. What do you do when your next booker's out of the picture? Go back to the kid. Now Tully's the booker again. And everybody hates Tully. And everybody's having problems with Tully. And Tully doesn't want to come in early and meet with Paul. And Paul and Tully don't get along. Kind of like Gary and Paul didn't get along. So then they bring in Buck Robbley.
Oh, good God. I can't see Buck Robbley and Paul Bosch sitting down in the same room for any extended period of time, to be honest.
I will say this about Buck Robbley. This is where I got to know Buck a little bit and be around Buck and kind of see how his mind works. I don't know if you ever got to spend any time around Buck.
Just a smidge. Just a smidge.
Buck, in my opinion, was a genius in a lot of ways.
He got himself over in Mid-South really good.
He did, but I mean, the son of a bitch had a great head for the business. He really did. But he's crazier than a shithouse rat.
Yeah.
And Buck started bringing in Ken Lucas and Ricky Morton and Billy Spears and all these other guys.
The Mad Magician from Alabama.
Oh, my God.
So named because he could produce foreign objects from anywhere, just instantly out of thin air.
And Paul's looking at this going, and I remember him getting the card, and it was Ken Lucas and Ricky Morton against Tully and Gino. And he's like, my crowd, my town is not buying Ricky Morton and Ken Lucas.
Yeah.
Ken's shorter than Ricky and was out of shape.
Well, Ken at the time had been in business about 20 years, and he was a little chubby. And I saw him have the goddamnedest match with Jerry Lawler one night in Louisville that I'd ever seen. He got over, tore the fucking house down, but part of that was because Lawler already had the goodwill, and it was over, and et cetera. And honestly, Ken was a good worker for Southern Territories, but I don't see him in the Texas ring.
And they put him on top.
Different style. And the promo, what do you Johnny Valentine, Bruiser Brody, Ken Lucas, what's wrong with this picture?
Ooh. And Buck is fighting for this. And he says, man, we're doing great business in San Antonio. Paul calls Joe. Says, You know how you do? He goes, it could be better.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not real sure about some of these guys that Buck's bringing in, but I'm going to give them a chance. Brody's coming in. So that's the carrot, dangling the carrot. Brody's coming in. So it's like, okay, Paul wants Brody. Wants Brody back. So the thing about Billy Spears, he had pierced nipples. And in 1980, early 1980s, in Houston, Texas, in Paul Bosch's dressing room, this old, out-of-shape, scraggly man with bleached blonde hair.
Well, I was about to say, he was over the hill at that point. He long in the tooth.
Some like the goatee. The goatee gimmick going on, hanging down to here like a Billy Goat goatee. And pierced nipples. And Paul, he's got something in his nipples. And just so disgusted.
He didn't know the nipples were loaded.
No, he was like just so disgusted that he had something on his nipples. And that was, but Brody's coming in. So Brody comes in, and he's got this other new guy, Jim Dugan. So we're bringing in Dugan, and the gimmick to bring Duggan in, introduce him as Dugan, and he's going to correct you and say, "It's Jim Duggan, 2 G's, D-U-G-G-A-N, tough guy." That was Jim's gimmick type thing. So
everybody's got to start somewhere.
They do, and Jim was a young, strapping guy, man, had a great look, and look what he turned out to.
Well, and I was about to say, at least whereas Billy Spears was kind of in this trajectory,
Jim
at
was
least
going up.
Duggan was going.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Brody is now coming in. I'm going to work this program with Duggan. So we blind Brody because he's going to go to Japan, get some heat on Duggan. Duggan blinds Brody. Brody's coming back. Brody comes back with a hair up his ass. And we have this big, it's not the blow off, but it's Brody's return.
Right.
To work with Duggan. And Brody's got the goggles and all that come out and shit. And Brody doesn't want to work. So he goes to the ring.
Was that one of his sit-downs?
Sits down in the middle of the ring, Indian style, arms crossed. And Duggan is stomping around and like looking at him, doesn't know what to do, has no clue what to do. Robbley is Duggan's manager.
But also Brody's friend.
Brody's
so
friend
he's kind of
and
supposed
Booker.
To be and the Booker. He's supposed to be the guy keeping this whole thing together, right?
Paul's doing commentary. And Brody is sitting down. And Buck Robbley is on the apron going, "Frank, please, Frank, we'll work it out. Please, Frank, please." And he's doing this shit. So the heel manager is pleading with the babyface who is sitting down in the middle of the ring, refusing to get up.
While the heel that blinded him is confused and doesn't know what to do.
Is stomping around going, "Ho!" No, he wasn't doing ho yet. And finally, Robbley says, "Beat the shit out of him. Just beat him up." And Duggan's like, so Duggan goes over and kicks him. No sells. And shit. And then finally, Brody lays down. Pin me. Duggan doesn't know what to do. Duggan pins him. 1, 2, 3. Gets out. They go to the back. Storm. Oh, Paul was livid. That was Buck and Brody's last time in Houston.
Ever, right?
Ever. Yeah. I can never remember. But it was